Tim's making us show how to learn golf,
Okay.
and you know, in an accelerated fashion.
That's cool. So far so good. We're just getting started.
Right. And you know, I'm a big believer in monkey see, monkey do. So we got two of the best swings
Two of the best monkeys out there
in the world here.
Just killed a bird in Fremont.
Right. So the things we're looking at, if you can, you know, stand here and watch, a little bit more around his kind of belt area, just to see how that's working. We can just kind of move our attention up and down a little bit here. So let's just watch his pelvis. See a little bit of a side bend we just talked about, right? So the hips are a little ahead. You see how the hips are pretty open at impact.
He definitely doesn't.
Right.
His weight doesn't move much back.
Right. So
torsion
what happens is, as we go back, you know, we don't have a lot of movement,
Yeah.
but we have a lot of increase in pressure into the ground. So there's a lot of torque. We call it shear force.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pay attention to his feet this time. So he's got really soft shoes on,
Yeah.
which helps him feel the ground. He's a big fan of kind of barefoot technology.
Yeah.
So you can pay attention to like his right leg and specifically his foot here. You see how it almost grips the ground, right?
Yeah. What are the most common mistakes that you see when you're watching people drive?
I think one of the biggest things is ball position. So for the driver, it's a lot different than an iron swing. It's really the only swing where you're hitting up on the golf ball. So
Okay.
that's the biggest thing. I try to get the ball position up near my left foot.
Yeah.
And so I do see common mistakes where the ball is just played too far back.
Too far towards their
Yeah, so if you're a right-handed golfer, too far
right.
towards your right foot.
Right, got it.
So I like to play with it, the inside of the heel. Depending on if I want to fade it, I will move it up a little more. And if I want to draw it, I might move it back just a little more.
Just fading and drawing.
Okay, yeah. So if I want the ball to start left and move right for
Okay.
a right-handed golfer, I'll have the ball position up a little bit.
That's fading.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, just having a really good ball position, consistent ball position.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, a lot of that determines my body position from the ball position. So when the ball position might be a little towards my left foot, it will naturally set me up a little bit left.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I move it back a little bit more, it will set me up a little bit right. But if you get it back here, you just can't hit the driver. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
He's going to talk a little bit about like pre-shot routine, which we talked about earlier, and just a little bit about distance control, and then obviously just hit shots, because he's got one of the best swings on the PGA Tour.
Fantastic. All right.
Make sure you guys get the Oakland Raider hat in there.
What type of club is that?
This is a 6-iron, so I would use this anytime I'm 180 to 190 from the pin.
Okay.
So that's kind of
Do you eyeball that, or do you use a rangefinder?
I use a rangefinder
Okay.
when I'm practicing.
It's pretty tough, man.
They also have
190 is
yardage
pretty
books
narrow.
for us, yeah. So, but usually pins are the same size,
Mm-hmm.
and when you get really good at
So
it,
you
you
can-
can actually eyeball how big the pin is.
Yeah.
Andrew, back me up.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, no, totally. I think that's the most confusing thing when they're not the same
When
size.
they're- Right.
Sometimes they're a little smaller, and you're just like, this looks like it's 200 yards. And it's
Exactly.
150.
It's just a smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, you can kind of gauge it that way.
When you've obviously seen a lot of novices, I'd imagine, with 6-iron, using this type of iron, what are the most common mistakes that you see?
The most common mistake for any golfer with the 6-iron is overswinging.
Okay.
So a 6-iron is designated to go a certain distance, and you don't want it to go longer than that, but you also don't want to go shorter than that.
Yeah.
It's, for me, if I have 186 to the pin,
Yeah.
I only want to hit it 186.
Right.
I don't want to try to hit it as hard as I can and try to hit it 195, because
Right.
that's irrelevant. I'm just going to be over in the back bunker. So for me, it's maintaining the same ball flight is key. Anytime the ball goes higher for me, I lose distance.
Yep.
And then the curvature on the ball, left to right and right to left, depending on which way is the wind blowing.
Right.
And just trying to be consistent with it. Just trying to make good contact with
So
it.
overswinging would be larger range of motion, or just putting too much power behind it?
It depends on how you swing.
What would overswinging look like for you?
Overswing for me,
Yeah.
right, and I've always had this since I was a kid, is that I would take it back, and
Yeah.
it gets a little quick, right? I would take it back. The backswing wouldn't necessarily go further
Yeah.
back, because once you're maxed out, you're maxed out, right?
Right.
So for me, overswinging is taking it to the back and driving too hard from the hips
Yeah.
and getting this way.
Okay. Got it.
Because as a kid, I believe our lower bodies are stronger than our upper bodies,
Right.
and then when we're adults, we kind of even out. So for me, it's getting it up here and really trying to hit it with my lower body, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
But that's just, I feel like I can hit it a little further when I do that,
Yeah.
but it's not the right way to do it.
Got it.
But if I did want to swing faster, right, I would just try to turn faster from with the upper body, kind of what Andrew was doing with the driver in order to maximize distance, is that you really plant yourself with your lower body, have a good foundation for a big turn, and then from here you can turn as
Right.
fast as you want.
Okay.
Do that.
Got it.
So Tim and I did some pitching today, James. Maybe you got some thoughts on how you regulate distance. So, you know, basically something that's less than the full shot.
There's so many different techniques and so many different ways to hit a pitch shot, because it all depends on the loft.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
let's go standard trajectory.
yeah, if so, I mean physics. It all has to do with physics, right? So I can swing really hard at it, but if the club face is pointing straight up, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to hit it that far. So I can,
Right. Right.
right? And then also I could put it back in my stance, de-loft it, and hit it the same distance.
Right.
I mean, it's for me, I try to be as athletic, and I try to hit as many practice pitch shots as I can, so that way I know which each shot feels like,
Mm-hmm.
and I can repeat it depending on putting my practice into the memory bank.
Right.
Like I've had this shot before. If I hit it like this, I can hit it straight up in the air, and it's going to go that far and only
Right.
roll that far. But the best way to start off, I feel like, is the clock system, and it's the simplest thing in the world.
Clock.
The clock.
Okay.
The clock. So for me, and I still use this, is that with all things being equal, right? So ball in the middle to the back of your stance, nothing crazy with the ball position, nothing crazy with the hand position, everything just being neutral, right?
Yeah.
Then with my left arm, I just go up and down a clock. So that would be 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I can go to 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? Or I can go 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I can go 10 o'clock, and you basically just go through, you know, starting from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 10,
Right.
11, and 12.
Just stick that in here so
Yeah.
you have it for
And
later.
you'll see your habits as far as how far you're hitting it and how high you're hitting it.
Yep.
So for me, I know that when I go to 9 o'clock on the backswing and finish right around there, that's 50 to 52 yards carry on the fly.
Yeah.
So if I were to hit 1,000 golf balls, right, I would say 980 of those balls would land between 50 and 52, and the other would maybe be 53 and 49. So
Yeah.
give or take a couple inches.
So on average,
So on average,
you're in the sweet spot.
in that area. And the same thing goes for 10 o'clock and on. And I like to keep it simple, and I like to I don't like to worry too much about the follow through.
Yeah.
And I like to always have a full follow through, so I'm not always worried about getting to a certain
Stopping
position.
short. Yeah.
Stopping short, right? So for me, I like to just have it flow naturally. You know, and I feel like I just stop when I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure.
So if I were to, that to me is not comfortable.
Right.
Just stopping short, and
Yeah.
neither is going all the way
Right.
to the full swing. So
Great. Thank you
That-
very much.
That helps.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
Got a lot of practice. Thank you
Thanks,
very
buddy.
much.
Yeah. Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
anytime.
Let's not put me right after those guys. The comparison will be painful to watch. That's amazing.